Hey everyone, welcome to Fox 10 Talks Wednesday afternoon. I'm Brian Webb, Trenton Hooker. Justin Lum, you may recognize. We're going to talk to him in just a bit. Michael Obie steering the boat back there. Is it a bus or more of a boat?
It's like a ship, like the
Like a
Titanic.
ship. Yeah,
Hopefully
like
we
the
keep it
Titanic.
afloat today.
It's like a
Go on a
cruise.
cruise.
Yeah,
Like the poop cruise?
right.
Just watched that last night. Horrifying.
It's awful, isn't it?
Terrifying.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, all right, so we got a lot going on today. We want to start, though. Ashlie Rodriguez is joining us live via Zoom. She is very, very, very busy, she told us already, but covering a serious story. We had a couple of fires and explosions, one of them fatal, right?
Large house fire. Yeah, North Phoenix. Ashley, you were on the air last night, 7 o'clock, as this was happening right in front of you, right?
Yes. How much time do I have?
Go for it.
Take it.
Okay, I just want to show you the setup right now. So this is Max. He's editing
Max.
the story because I am in the 4 and I am in the 5. I mean, but I was really excited. I just want to, make it very clear. I was very excited to follow up on this story because Trenton, you were there. So I'm anchoring the 7. We get this breaking news into our newsroom and we have Sky Fox over this scene. And I don't know if you guys have the video, if you can play it, but your
Yep.
eyeballs just fall out of your head when you see these flames. Look at that black pitch smoke, and it just filled this West Valley neighborhood. But look very closely. Not a lot of fire crews, right? So as we're watching this fire, and look at the bottom corner, you can see that neighbor trying to fight the fire himself with his garden hose. That's the guy who I talked to today. His name is Michael Giuliano. But yeah, so there's an absence of fire crews, and that's because Phoenix Fire was fighting another fire on Shaw Butte Drive 3 miles away. As they're fighting that fire, which ended up being fatal, so it's a serious fire, they're getting calls about this fire, which you can see is an incredibly serious fire. So we went out to survey the damage today. I'm telling you guys, it's so bad. This property right here, it's listed on Zillow as like 800 grand value, 2,500 square feet, 5 bedrooms. You can see smoke coming out of the far part of the property. Then you have that RV. You look up an average cost of an RV, you're looking at 100 grand minimum. Then there's 2 speedboats on the side of that RV. The speedboat took damage, and the homeowner was out there today. He didn't want to talk to us, understandably. He was with his insurance guy. They were just walking the property. Absolutely heartbreaking. Now, in this case, neighbors saw the flames and called the family, knocked on the door. They weren't home, but they rushed home. They were able to get their dog out. Everybody evacuated safely. No one is hurt. Phoenix Fire are trying to knock down another fire, as I mentioned, 3 miles away on Shaw Butte Drive. That one was human-caused, accidental. I know the backstory off the record, but let's just go ahead and say the investigation is still happening. So both of these fires, we don't have a cause. In the first fire, though, it's absolutely heartbreaking because it's not only property loss, but someone lost their son. Someone lost their brother in that situation. And again, it ignited in the garage. It was already a very hot day. Garage has no ventilation. So Phoenix Fire really tried to save that guy, but they said it was just too hot inside. A female family member went in trying to rescue her family member out of the garage. She suffered really bad smoke inhalation. She had to give up, and there's nothing they could do for the other guy. But so you
Oh,
Yeah, you just, I don't know if we lost her for, got a little frozen there, but well, I was
she's
going to
very
ask.
busy turning that story today. She
Well,
did
she
mention.
is. And I didn't know if she was getting emotional there because it does get emotional when you
Yeah.
show up and you talk to the people who were involved in
Yeah.
this. I was going to ask her, like, and you know, when you're
It's not easy.
on the air and watching these things happen and you don't know exactly what's going on, all you can really give is a play-by-play, really. Like I see a guy with a hose, I see a huge fireball, I don't see any fire trucks yet. Oh, there they are. You just kind of have to wing it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's where kind of the teamwork really comes into play in our profession with TV news, where you have people behind the scenes trying to gather facts and get that accurate information out to you guys so that we can get that on the air to the public. I mean, it's it's incredible how fast all that happens.
And frankly, it can help. I assuming she was doing the show herself.
Yes.
Some of those, I mean, that's when you really like to have somebody next to you, because you can kind of divide and conquer the situation. You may notice something that I didn't notice. Someone can focus right on the fire and the smoke, and someone else is looking around the perimeter, or maybe thinking, my God, how much is this going to cost? Or worse, is there someone inside? I mean, there are lots of different things you can talk about to try to maybe, and honestly, some of it is to stall for a little time so it flushes itself out and we can understand better what's going on. But you can't just turn away from a fireball like that.
And then the uncomfortable situation the next day where you're following the story and you have to go back to this neighborhood and to this home and try and talk to this person that, their whole life right now is impacted and they're dealing with all this stuff like Ashlie was talking about, and, 2 people losing their lives. I mean, that's just terrible. And then try to let them know that you want to tell their side of the story or, find out more about the people that are impacted. It's not easy for sure.
You have any tricks of the trade for that when you try to go up to somebody and get them to talk?
I've done it a million times, and I think every case is different. The scenario is different. You doing door knocks or reaching out to someone online via social media, talked about someone that may have been murdered or someone who's missing. But I think, and I learned this from someone that we both know, George Kitayama, who you worked with in the Kansas City market. And he always told me that he would say to that person that's grieving, you have the power to, change the narrative on the story or tell your side of the story or speak on behalf of someone who cannot speak anymore. You have the power to do that. I'm going to let you decide. Give them that power, not just we'd like, you to speak and get on our newscast and talk about this and in this interview, but humanizing it and saying, the ball is in your court, and when you're ready, let me know.
That's a good way to do it. Really good way to do it.
It's good advice.
Yeah, and and you've had to do a lot of talking with you're back to talk about Lori Vallow again, and we might. I'm
usually back here to talk about Lori Daybell.
Is this going to be a good thing for your personal sanity for this to be over?
Yeah, and again, ever since the verdict, which was June, the last verdict, everyone's asked me, what are you going to do after Daybell? It's like, I've been doing stuff in the midst of this Daybell stuff. I've been juggling stories, but this is what, people know when they ask about. But there's a closure. It's bittersweet and important for the victims, for Brandon Boudreaux and Charles Vallow, to get justice and now to see the possible life sentences be given. She would then have a total of 7 life terms, because there's 5 in Idaho, 3 running consecutively. And that's the information we just reported recently this week, is that the prosecution is asking the judge to hand down 2 consecutive life sentences for these murder conspiracy convictions, one of them ending up fatal with her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. And then they want those consecutive sentences to add on to the sentences in Idaho. So she's serving life no matter what. I think the point is that these victims and their families got to see it all the way through in the judicial system.
But this is like almost unprecedented stuff. This is like Charles Manson, Ted Bundy level life sentences from.
I don't know if there's a record
right here.
Yeah, and to see that she could, pull the strings behind all of it, that she could orchestrate that, whether or not she did anything physically to each of the victims, but that she could be a part of that plan. I think that's what's fascinating to people. Is like, how did she get this group, this inner circle, to believe in what she and her husband Chad Daybell were talking about and teaching?
Remind me again. What do we think? At one point, she was, we think, normal. Right?
I would think so. Years and years ago.
Do we know the flip that was switched? What happened there? Was it a religious awakening of some sort, she thought?
I think she was always religious and, was a very avid, faithful member in the Church of LDS, Latter-day Saints. And once she and Charles Vallow moved to Kauai with their family, I want to say 2015, I spoke to a close friend of hers from back in that time, that era, and said that she started getting interested in books written by Chad Daybell about this philosophy.
And I was going to ask too on that, I'm curious on the level of self-deception. I know that Lori's past too, for history before with the beauty pageants, things like that,
Yeah.
that there was a little bit of that, trying to invent a narrative about
That was in
how her
Austin,
life was.
Texas,
Right.
too. She always, that was the spotlight. She was in a beauty pageant, very social. So when did she get super extremely religious? I don't know. But at some point when she started reading other books and books similar to the ones that Chad Daybell wrote about the end of times, she started getting into the stuff and then met him. And for people that are just joining, like, it's hard for us to even rehash the whole backstory. Like,
Right.
this is what happened, but she's been convicted of killing her 2 children. She called them dark spirits. She's been convicted of conspiring in the murder of her, basically, the first wife of Chad Daybell, who was in the way at that point as they were having this affair. And then she's also convicted now of plotting the shooting of her husband in Chandler, had her brother do it, and then setting up the shooting in Gilbert outside her ex-nephew-in-law's home. And this all stems back to identifying people as dark spirits, and then life insurance money. And then you come to the conclusion that people have to die. So, and you've been in this market for so long, Bryan, and I probably asked you this. Have you seen a case like this? And it may not just be true crime, but something that's just gone on for this long. And
I don't know. The only thing that pops to my mind is Jodi Arias, but I mean, she makes Jodi Arias look like a Girl Scout. I mean, we have 5
Choir girl.
yeah.
the Jodi Arias trial, and there was a lot of media attention, and I don't know if that changed things for how much access we get now, but you had cameras in the courtroom, I believe.
Yeah.
And it went on for so long. It was a big deal. It's the beginning of Twitter time too, I believe.
True. Yeah.
So
I think along those lines, I've thought several times recently we may be due for another, like, these come every so often where something envelops the entire community. And unless I'm forgetting something, it seems like we might be due for another one.
well,
I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Hope it doesn't happen to anybody.
but it's a generational thing where a
Yeah.
big story comes,
Yeah.
and then you get on top of it, or it misses you. It's
Yeah.
it's a very interesting way the news industry works.
So tell us real quick before we go. Friday, what can people watch?
9 a.m. the sentencing. We will be streaming that on our YouTube channel. We'll have our expert panel, and then in the chat we should have the on the record link for you guys to watch a deep dive of our preview of the case and the sentencing. So we'll be
Excellent.
all over it.
Thank you, Justin.
Bringing it home.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Justin.
Up next, we're going to talk about the late, great Ozzy Osbourne with someone who knew him well. Stay with us.
Hey, everybody, watching Fox 10 Talks. We have two very special guests here today, Max Cavalera and his wife, Gloria.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you. Of course, we're talking about the death of the Prince of Darkness himself, music icon Ozzy Osbourne, his death this week, which I don't know about obviously everyone here. I think it took everybody by surprise seeing him quite strong at the last concert. I know that he was undergoing several health issues, but yes, a very, very deep felt loss on that.
Yeah, we were on a plane actually because we were in Europe on tour with Soulfly, my main band, and then we got the news right when we landed, like literally, because on the phones she didn't have Wi-Fi on the airplane. So the minute that we landed, she just looked at me. She goes, "Ozzy died," and I was like, "What?" You know, it didn't even register. You know, because we have a big long story with them that goes beyond music. Because I was a fan, of course, like always, growing up in Brazil. But through the years, we end up playing many shows with them, but we become also friends with the family.
Right.
You know, Gloria built up a great relationship with Sharon. And I did, 2 Ozfests and the original Black Sabbath reunion show in 98. No, 96, right? 96.
Was he one of your inspirations growing up then to get you involved with heavy metal?
For sure. Yeah, big in Brazil.
He's such a, like, the personal Ozzy that we got to know later in life is so different than the on stage that we thought he was. But
it's wildly different.
Talk to us about that and the guy he really was versus the guy on stage.
Well, I think like she has a great story that I want her to tell in a little bit. My most experience, one of my most memorable experience was hanging out with Ozzy once at his house. I just had broken up with my old band, and I wanted to make a new band. So I asked him because he's been through the same thing with Black Sabbath. So I was like, "What do I do?" And he just solely like completely reinvigorated me. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Go chase that dream. Go find the guys, find other guys, and go conquer the world.
Wow.
And that came from him. It was such a strong thing in his house in England that we were there. But then Gloria's story that she has just to share, it's really, really deep.
Let's hear that
and
one.
Really, and it's gonna be, you guys gonna see a human side of Ozzy that nobody even knows about.
Go ahead, Gloria. Talk to us about your experience.
Well, in 1996, my son was killed while we were on the way to a show in the UK with Ozzy. It was at Donington, called Donington Park. It's a really big show, like 40,000 people. And so as soon as we got there, we had to turn around and fly back. And so Sharon, who I'd never met before, put us all, our whole family, on an airplane, sent us home, sent a private plane to pick us up, met me at the airport, gave me several gifts and things. And then after that, she really just took us under her wing. She started flying our kids to her house, and because of the loss of their brother, it was amazing, honestly, what they did. And then they took us on a tour with them, and then Ozzy would walk through the crowd and everywhere to come to our bus and just hang out with us, which all the people who take care of him were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Ozzy just did that." And they would call us on the phone, and they invited us to their house in England for Christmas. And it was just we'd never met them. They didn't even know us, and they just gathered us all up right away. And they're just amazing.
Darkness.
Yeah. That's giving me chills.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I took away from the reality show is that
Right.
Sharon's a saint.
Yes,
that woman,
she
and she
is.
kept him going, right, single-handedly. It seemed like in many cases
did.
he was about to go off one edge or the other, and she's like, "No, Ozzy, get in line, buddy." You have the same thing with Gloria.
Yeah, we have the same relationship, which is great. You need that. You need I think a musician that wants to be successful, you got to find a person that you really trust. I don't say that you have to marry your manager. I mean, it is the case for Ozzy. It's my case.
It's worked out well.
It worked
Yes.
out well. But, find somebody that you trust. I found her. I was very lucky. Ozzy had Sharon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the human side to me speaks volumes because everybody just looks at him as this madman, right?
Right.
Society, and he loved that anyway.
Yeah,
right?
Yes, he played into it.
Played into it. But when you meet somebody that does things like that, out of the pure heart, he knew how broken we were at that moment. You know, I'm not doing the show. My band is there, but I'm not playing because my stepson just got killed.
Yeah.
You know, and we needed to get home.
Yeah.
And they arranged all that for us to go home. It was an incredible human experience, you know, that we'll never forget. You know, it's forever. It's going to be with us. And I think it's quite a unique story, you know, how tragedy actually bond our family with their family, you know. So, as far as like what he meant to the music world, I think what's really cool we're seeing right now, this outpouring of love for him. Gloria even mentioned to me this morning, you see how reunited the heavy metal community really is. You know, we get to see that now more than ever.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I love that. From the whole world, everybody's hurting right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we lost our grandfather, the godfather of heavy metal. You know, it's definitely one of a kind.
Yeah.
And I also think legends like that are harder and harder to find in the world. You know, the Ozzy is
right
because of the AI. I don't know, computer.
Right.
All this, he was a unique character, you know.
Well, and it's interesting too because the things that Ozzy did, I mean, his not only his personal lifestyle, but what he did on stage. I mean, with social media today and just the environment of 2025, I mean, a lot of the things he did you couldn't get away with today, you know, and did.
Right.
But I think it is amazing, you know, just seeing how many times he reinvented himself.
Yeah, tell the story of the cigar. That's a good one.
Oh, please. Oh, you got to tell this one.
Yeah,
Gloria's
So
all right.
we were at their house for Christmas, and then Sharon and I were in the kitchen or somewhere. We went, Ozzy had this one room, like all the walls were all gold albums and awards and everything. And so my son, I think he was 10 years old at that time. He was in there smoking a cigar. And so was Ozzy's little boy, Jeff. They were both smoking cigars, and Sharon's like, "What the heck are you doing, Ozzy?" And he's like, "I'm going to make sure they never smoke again." And then Artha never stopped smoking after that.
Ozzy taught me how. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with that.
It was really, you know, what I think one of the coolest things about them is that they do so much charity work and so many things for people, and they don't have to have photos. They don't have to share it. They do it from their heart. They see that somebody needs something, and the people don't have to go to them and say, "Oh, can you do this for me?" Like, they just know. Like, that is so rare. Really,
sure is,
I mean, a lot of rock people just do their own life and don't really seem to put a lot back into the world or in the community. And that was one thing, like, I've always really admired them. Everybody should be able to look up to them and really respect them for that.
Are you going to get a chance to reach out to Sharon soon, do you think?
Well, I've done some things already. We have, but
Well,
I'm sure she's just mobbed right now with so many people. Like, right when somebody passes away, like, it's overwhelming.
Absolutely.
All the people that come after you. So,
well, and I was just going to say on the separation in his life, obviously, when the family decided to do the Osbournes reality show. I mean, really, that was the first time you got an inside look at a rock and roll family, you know, here's what it is behind the scenes, just especially heavy metal too, kind of being a walled garden of what you see at the concerts is really all you get. And then, of course, tabloid stuff like that. But to see the family and to see his relationship as a father, Sharon as a mother, I think that changed so many minds and hearts. It's pretty amazing.
I mean, how funny he was.
Yeah.
It showed his
That's
humor.
what
Like,
we were
I don't
talking
think
about.
anybody realized how funny he was.
Right. Brian and I were talking about that before. We were watching a clip from his first appearance on the David Letterman show back in the 80s. Hilarious. You know?
Yeah.
True.
It's amazing.
Hilarious. One time we were in Sweden with Soulfly, and we were open for Ozzy, and so I'm in his dressing room hanging out, you know, and he, straight up, I hand to God, he looked at me like, "Where are we?"
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I was like,
We know that feeling.
we're in Sweden, I think. You know,
right.
I kind of joke.
You
I was
lose
like,
track.
I think. But yeah, he had no idea where it was. I think that's so cool. It's like, dude, wow, he just goes, you know.
Can I ask you this? I'm always curious about this, like, because there was just the two sides of Ozzy that we ended up seeing over the years. But is there a pressure, especially heavy metal, to live that lifestyle, and maybe it gets out of control for a lot of people?
It's easy.
Yeah, I'm sure it is easy, right? I mean, all those trappings of the money, the fame, and whatever else comes with it. It must be hard to.
I've been fortunate that I have her and a family that keeps me grounded, so I'm not allowed to get a big head. So a lot of people in the metal world that knows me kind of like, Max is a nice guy. It's kind of hard to find somebody that talks bad about us, But it's. I think it's kind of cool. Like I never really like big-headed people anyway, So I like the humble element, and I think. As far as the other things, yeah, they're all out there, all the trappings, But I think if you find the right personnel, the right people working with you, it becomes like, for us now, we've been doing this for 40 years, 85 countries.
It's a family enterprise.
Right. We have our kids playing with us now. My son Zion plays drums. I have another project with my other son Igor. We are touring all the way now, booked all the way to next year. Going to Australia in January. It doesn't become easy, but you become more. It just works. It's just something that this is what I was put on this planet to do.
Yeah.
And this is the people that are gonna help me get there.
We have We have 1 minute. What do you want Ozzy's legacy to be?
I like that the thing about the two images, the wild man and the good-hearted person. Like he's both of them, and I think that's beautiful that he's able to be wild and such a good human being.
That's great. That's great. Thanks.
True.
We appreciate you both coming in.
Thank you
Good
so
stuff.
much.
Back.
Thank you.
And your tour starts up in September, I believe, right?
In America.
In America. Yes.
We have to go back to Europe.
Back to Europe.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Max, Lori Cavalera, thank you so
Thanks for
much for
coming
your
in,
time.
guys. Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Okay,
We'll be right
more
back.
Fox 10 Talks.
Welcome back to Fox 10 Talks, everybody. We have a special guest, Lauren Clark, our legal expert.
Yes,
soon to be
aficionado.
anything legal in
Not
that territory.
quite expert, but she's on the road there.
Very close, and one of my favorite people. Just
Absolutely.
so,
thank you.
so sweet and so
One of the
so
biggest
fun to be
smiles,
around.
brightest smiles
Brightest
in the
smiles,
newsroom.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I heard you're a little fired up about this Bryan Kohberger thing, right? Which is an amazing. The whole case, I heard people talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Just like at a restaurant back in the day. And we'll take it from there. I guess the big killer is we're never going to, I shouldn't have said that. The big bad thing is we're never going to understand why.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that is the question that so many people still have today. So for those of you who might not be aware, Kohberger was sentenced today after pleading guilty, which was a shock for a lot of people. The court case was supposed to happen in August, but him and his team and the prosecutors were able to get a ninth-hour deal together for a guilty plea. This means he can never try to appeal this. That is part of the plea deal. It's done. He is not going to bring up some weird legal theory 20 years from now to try to get out of jail that is not a part of what they put together. He is finished, and he is going to be spending the rest of his life behind bars. But as we heard all of the very, very powerful impact statements played today, there is still that question on the minds of people, and that's what you brought up, Bryan. Why? Why did he do this? In fact, President Trump even weighed in later this week and said that if he was the judge, he would make Kohberger explain why he did this in detail. And I know that is the sentiment for so many people. They want to try to process this and, try to come to terms as to why someone would murder brutally and savagely with a knife 4 college kids that there is no connection to, but we still don't have answers for that. And the judge spoke on that today. He said, look, even if I had the legal capacity to make someone say something, which I don't, but even if I had that, he's like, are we to actually believe that what the words to come out of his mouth wouldn't be self-serving and would be the truth?
Probably. But if you're the prosecutor, couldn't you ask that as part of the stipulation of the agreement?
Yeah, they asked. I know that there was a presser that happened with the prosecution team afterwards, and we were able to get a little bit of some clarification about some of the evidence people had, which was really insightful. But people also asked, was the lack of motive here part of the reason you guys came to this agreement? And the prosecutor said no, because they don't have to prove that. But put this into perspective here. All you would need was one person in that jury wondering, they have all this evidence, but I still have that question on my mind as to why. Is that the dice you want to roll?
It's like, well, for the rest of us who are removed from it, it's a soap opera.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Well, and this was kind of a little bit of the perfect storm, right? Where the time when this happened, because this was, I mean, we were just coming out of COVID. There were still enough people where we were, virtually working, whatever. So super on our phones, and every detail as this was coming out. I mean, just the mystery of first how it started, the co-eds found dead in the home, and then the other details where he was trying to flee across the country with his father. I mean, it had the perfect workings of an absolute drama.
PhD, criminal
Criminology.
justice, criminology,
Well, can I ask Lauren this question? Because just before they took the plea deal, the judge wouldn't allow opposite. They were going to implicate other people as possibly doing the crime, and he said none of that evidence would be allowed. So it seems like if you're taking life sentence, no chance of appealing, you think you're dead to rights. I mean, you basically just don't want to die.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if they're worried one juror is going to buy, with DNA evidence and all these other things that are there, if one juror is going to buy, well, what's his motive? I don't know. That seems like a big stretch to me. If the defense is like, listen, we'll spend the rest of our life in prison as long as we have to deal with the firing squad.
Yeah, and that's a good point, too. I mean, they had a really, really good chance of conviction here, right? They had, the DNA. They just did not have a motive. And they actually admitted today in the press conference they did not. They still don't know the motive today.
Yeah.
But, to your point that you just brought up, I think another part of this plea deal was the appeal process. Even if he was found guilty and sentenced to death, we are talking about a very long, very expensive process that families are going to have to continuously show up to court with.
Mm-hmm.
Some families said we are completely okay with this. The death penalty is what we want. Other families, though, they preferred having this closure now opposed to in the year 2050 or whenever that year eventually comes.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hard to believe as a novice, but as a storyteller, that the prosecutors couldn't come up with a theory of a motive that they could explain, because we're human beings. We want to know why.
Yep, absolutely.
Why? We know who, what, when, where, what. We don't know the why.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me the prosecutors, after 4 years of this, haven't even come up with a theory that we know of? I mean, that seems like a drop in the ball to me, because that's part of prosecution, right? Is telling a story.
Up with a story, yeah.
Right.
And and the prosecutor, for his point, I mean, this is someone who is very experienced, but this is in Latah County. As someone who's reported in Idaho, Latah County, they might get maybe one homicide once every 5 years. So him having to do a quadruple murder, even towards the end of his career, that's a lot to try to look at. But he even said, Bryan, and whether this is right or wrong, he's like, I'm not going to get up there in front of 12 people and try to speculate of what could have happened. There were some authors, interestingly, though. One of them is I believe he's a Pulitzer Prize author, and I believe the book is I'll Be Gone in the Night. Fantastic book. This is an investigative reporter who put it together in the early hours, actually, in the early months as well after this case came out. And he has a theory that I find pretty convincing. Kohberger, to a lot of people, was known to be a vegan. And Maddie Mogan, actually worked at this restaurant called Mad Greek, and it served vegan food. And so his theory was that there was some type of interaction that happened there, as there's not a lot of places in Moscow, Idaho, and surrounding areas to get vegan food. And that's what perhaps led him to try to find her and hurt her in some way. We might never know. And the judge today said he really cautioned against some people who might try to get in book deals with Kohberger. We really hope this doesn't happen, but maybe movie rights or something gross like that. He really said, I hope people don't stoop so low to do this. But the fact of the matter is, people will still want to try to know why.
Back to my point.
And it seems like he's definitely going to want to talk.
You think?
When he's out of the woods.
He said he didn't want to talk today when given the opportunity.
Okay, that's a signal. But go ahead, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I have a question for Lauren, because it seems like there's 4 families here. They seem to be split on taking the deal versus the death penalty. Is that explicitly the prosecutor or the government's decision on that, or is there some sort of democratic process between the families? I'm sure they consult them, but the Gonzalez family seems like they didn't get consulted at all.
Yeah, and that has certainly gotten a lot of blowback as a result. As you pointed out, there does seem to be a split between Xana's family seemed to want death penalty, as well as the Gonzalez family, and then the other 2 were very supportive of this plea deal. He mentioned today, because a lot of reporters were pressing him, and this was the first time he's publicly spoken since indicting Kohberger. So this was a big deal, this press conference today. He said at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and he knows that not everyone was satisfied with that decision, but he said he did right for not only the families of the victims, but he also feels strongly that he did right by the people of Idaho, saving them the time, money, and resources for this endless appeal process and a very, very long trial that would have happened as a result. Not to mention the years and years of all these appeals he would probably take if he were to get the death penalty. So he felt very, very comfortable in his decision. And he said sometimes you have to make very uncomfortable decisions, and that responsibility doesn't go away just because of the magnitude of all of the eyes on you. So that's his that's his take on it. Some people perhaps might feel differently, but at the end of the day, it was the state's decision. I know I spoke about this before on a previous podcast, but there's a reason why we say state versus the defendant, opposed to victim versus the defendant. It's this idea that when a crime has been committed against someone, it's not just the victim, but it's against all of society as a whole. And we're trying to make that right against all of society as a whole.
What would you have done if you were the prosecutor?
Oh, gosh.
Which you may be one day.
Oh, man, what a tough decision. You know, I'm glad I didn't have to make a decision like that, because there's a lot of factors you have to think of. So much money, unfortunately, goes into the appeal process. And you know, you do feel so much for these victims' families, and they're all grieving differently. We can tell that. The Gonzalez family is very, very outspoken, and that's how they're processing their grief. Others, like the Mogan family, have never really spoken too much, and that's how they're processing their grief. But some of them feel like this is a very quick way that they can finally move on with their lives, and they won't have to be going into court cases and courthouses for 20 plus years.
Wow. Well, he's we do know the prison, right, that he's going to be in Idaho?
We actually do not.
We don't yet.
We do not yet.
Now, one he could be in, right, is the same that Chad Daybell is in right now.
He could be in the same, as Chad Daybell. Interesting,
high profile. But I can only imagine, though, the job of those prosecutors that obviously we had today's proceedings, but then to have to go to those families, to look them in the eye, and to feel like this is what justice looks like in this case.
And he felt very, I don't know if you were watching his expression, but it was very cold. It was very soulless looking back at these families.
Yes. We had several people mentioning that in the comments, and also his attorney too, and their remarks. It's, I
don't blame him.
Tough.
I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't it cost money to play a little devil's advocate? I know it costs money to appeal, but it also costs money to put him in prison for an extra 20 years. I mean, I don't know what the cost analysis on that is, but I feel like the money thing...
Yeah, I agree.
It's not cheap either way.
It's not cheap either way. The appeals process, I believe there has been studies done show that is a little bit more expensive. And you're also taking up, court resources, like a courtroom that could be used for something else, a judge, defense attorneys. He can't afford his own attorneys. These would be public defenders constantly working on this too.
It reeks of the easy way out, Lauren. To me, it does. To me, it does. It really does.
Well, Lauren, we know you got to go.
Awesome, Lauren.
You've got a live hit at 4 o'clock.
I do, yes.
He probably has a test to study for, too.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for sticking with us for Fox 10 Talks. Isabella Fredrickson in the house to wrap us up here.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun story that we found out about. In New York City, there's a growing trend among younger singles where their friends are having PowerPoint presentations to show, hey, this is my friend. This is their qualities. This is what they got. And what do you think?
You know, I know this is a part of my generation, and I just think we're so unserious. You know, during, I'd say around 4th or 5th grade is when PowerPoints became really popular for our generation. So
4th grade, you were having to do PowerPoints?
Yeah, we were learning how to do them.
Holy smoke.
We hardly wrote papers. I mean, we
I had
still
crayons
did.
when I was in 4th. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I mean, in school, middle school and high school, all of your group projects, all of your final projects, they were all PowerPoint based. So I think because we grew up with that whole PowerPoint logic, we've just continued it. So just like that dating thing you were talking about, something it made me think of was once we all went to college, a lot of people in my age, once you returned home for either the holidays or summer break, you would do PowerPoint presentations to your friends. Like,
wow.
This is what you missed the last 6 months. This is what happened in my life. So that makes sense that now that we're in our 20s, people are doing the PowerPoints to essentially create a presentation to show off their single friends.
That's amazing. I just can't imagine for 1 minute being so self-absorbed with myself where I want to create a PowerPoint presentation of what I was doing.
That's the problem, though.
Amazing.
It's like these dating apps where you have to like make a billboard of yourself. I mean, can it be any less organic than it is becoming?
Brian, is there a personal story there
Yes,
you would like to share?
I'll talk for. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
and just when it used to be like a little smile or a little bit longer of a gaze and it went from there. Now it's, hey, this is my resume. When I was in elementary school, I put together my first PowerPoint presentation and then I went on from here, and it's like,
so I like to travel and enjoy sunsets is no longer cutting it.
No, it's like, here's a photo of me with this sunset. Here's a photo of me going to this place.
If I have to see another one of the, like that is, I hike, I horseback ride, I go to, it's the same
Arizona.
thing over and over again.
Well, isn't a dating app just a PowerPoint presentation, just fit for a phone?
Yeah.
It is.
And I've never made it to the end of a PowerPoint presentation, so I don't know whose personal details would get me to slide 5, but it's going to take a lot.
Whether creating one or watching one, either way.
The best one I created was I had to convince my mom and dad to get me a dog. So I made a PowerPoint.
Wow.
I made a PowerPoint on why I should have a dog, and I included my responsibilities, how I would care for it. And I got a dog because of my PowerPoint.
Shows exactly same story of how Isabel has her act together.
Thank you.
I mean, to come prepared with a PowerPoint. Mom and Dad, I need your attention for this elevator pitch on this dog.
This is why we need a dog.
It's the famous story of that actress from Phoenix who did a PowerPoint so that her mom would move her to Hollywood. What's her name? Help me out.
Marilyn Monroe.
The most famous young actress from Phoenix
Emma
ever.
Stone.
Emma Stone, thank you.
Wow.
She did a PowerPoint to her parents. This is why I should be an actress.
Yeah.
This is why we should move to Hollywood. And the rest is 2 or 3 Oscars later, the rest is history.
Well, Isabella is the Emma Stone of Fox 10. So
thank you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I was going to say, I did a PowerPoint to become an actor, but they took one look at me and they're like, no, you're behind the camera. Now look at me.
Well,
now you're a rock star back there.
I thought it was interesting. I mean, they do 3 to 5 minutes. It's called Pitch and Pair. And they literally have to stand up, their friends, and talk about their qualities and what they're doing. And,
so where's the friend at this point?
The friend is doing the PowerPoint presentation.
Where's the actual guy they want?
In the crowd, front row. Yeah.
So it's like a bar, Phil. It's like at a singles event.
Yeah.
And there's a big PowerPoint.
Right.
So it's like speed dating, but your friends get a chance to present.
Yeah, they're auctioning you
This
off.
is all kind of funny, but if you take a step back, I mean, how is humanity going to survive this, Michael? I mean, this is awful.
If you're poor, do you put that on there, or are you just highlights?
And also, how many slides could you have of yourself? Like if your friend made one for you, would it be, we can have 20 slides of this person, or I only came up with 3.
Too many slides,
or too many is a
sweet
problem.
spot.
Yeah.
This guy has 10 slides. He's so obsessed with himself.
Right.
3 slides, he doesn't travel enough.
Well, I am kind of curious, though, what role AI is playing in online dating right now, where you have these people that already, it's always been a problem with dating in general, but embellishing, with lying, with creating these stories. But now you have AI in the middle of it to say like, well, actually I, just got back from the Greek islands and, really they didn't leave but to go to KFC or something.
Right.
And they suddenly look a lot different in that one picture than they did in that other picture.
Yeah,
and
that's got to be an
It can
issue.
be very misleading.
And so what? What's the point of that? That you show up and you're like, I don't recognize you. Who
Wasn't
are
this
you?
set doing the same thing? It looks like you guys are in downtown Phoenix right
It's
now.
true.
Well,
It's
you
true.
kind of are, but
There's no AI that can help my figure on here, so that's a fact.
Oh gosh, I mean, where this all goes, I just don't.
It's amazing.
I don't.
It's so unserious. That's
Well, what's the positive? Let's try to
definitely.
look at the positive side. How is this positive for humanity?
for
Wow,
the
this is getting deep.
PowerPoint dating your friend. I
I guess they're trying.
can't think of a
Define
I guess they're
positive.
still
qualities.
trying.
I don't know.
Well,
Are
you got to be a
divorce
good
rates-
friend. Yeah,
Are
to-
divorce rates going down? I feel like we're just doing the work before we decide to get married, as opposed
it out of the
to
way.
earlier generations got married, hated each other, then divorced. Like,
Right,
It was
right.
so much easier to get divorced back in my day. Well, we're just trying to weed out the problems before we take that legal jump.
Yeah, no kidding.
As bad as it is, though, maybe arranged marriages are better than what we're doing now.
Yeah. Let's go
Okay.
back to medieval
Okay.
times.
I mean,
we're
right?
fleshing it all out. Well, I would think, though, the paper trail for later in the divorce where they could pull out this PowerPoint presentation said this, and this. False
He
advertising.
didn't live up
around
to that.
claims.
He didn't live up to that.
Misleading.
Right.
Wow.
He didn't
Lauren
like
Clark will
he didn't
use
like
that.
sunsets and hiking.
Yeah.
He lied to me.
Exactly. Well, this kind of goes into what was the app that we were talking about the other day called T, I believe, where women are going on there anonymously, but talking about men and kind of rating them in a way of saying, well, Joe, Bryan Webb took me on a date, but he made me pay for this and this and this, and didn't hold the door open for me.
There's also we've talked about in the newsroom many times. There's a
I believe that's the number one app
Is
right
it?
now.
Is that? Well, it's not just that, but if this guy's stay away from this guy kind of app,
Right.
Website,
Right.
website, right?
Right.
And they post his picture on there,
Yeah.
and his name, and
They
everything.
just blast him.
Blast
straight
him,
up.
yeah.
Wow. Oh my
It's like
gosh.
FTV Live for dating.
Yes. It's
We all
very
look
rough.
at it.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's only going to complicate things. But another thing that was a little disturbing, we're talking about relationship issues, but people trying to fill that void where they might have a significant other. There's a growing trend of people using lifelike baby dolls to pass off as this is my child. I believe we have some footage of this. Oof.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That looks like the real deal. doesn't
These
it?
are called
Redhead,
reborn dolls. And people are paying as much as $10,000 for
That
this.
is crazy.
Wild. And we were talking about this earlier when I brought it up in the newsroom, but apparently it's becoming an issue where people are taking these dolls into locations and they're trying to pass off to people saying, no, this is my baby. I have a right to be here. I'm
Is that the
a mother
NICU?
or father. Right. Yeah. And trying to pass these
God,
babies
it
off
looks
to, have people believe
This-
their parents.
Doesn't this all just speak to how lonely humanity has become? I mean,
Yeah.
the
It's a new
dating,
low.
the fake babies. I mean, it's just
It is creepy, I have to say. It is just creepy. I mean, I know there are different reasons that people make choices like this. They might have a loss. They might have something in their life that they're not feeling fulfilled. But at the end of the day, I mean, to try to pretend that you have a live newborn.
I just can't imagine this is really a
Imagine
big-
walking up to that in the park and be like, oh, look at all
I know.
these.
Right.
And you
Your
kind of take a
baby's
closer
melting.
look.
Well,
and-
they look so real. That's
Yeah.
the thing. And
Do they have names?
Oh, absolutely. The
Yeah.
ones I've seen,
Gerald.
Yes, Maple, I believe, was one.
Oh, my.
Where there is a person that was profiled in this report in the Wall Street Journal, where she, I believe, has 2 million followers on Instagram, where people follow her around in her exploits through the day of bringing baby Maple to different things, saying, this is my daughter, this is my daughter. And, seeing the reaction of people and kind of leaning into it, I think, a little bit, where the unsuspecting public's going, lady, that baby's not real, or,
Yeah.
what's wrong with your baby?
And I mean, I think that's sad too, because I'm sure some people may get that to deal with some sort of loss, whether it was, like a miscarriage or like a baby passed away. But I can see this turning harmful in the long run if you start to obsess over this doll and you think it's your real baby. I can see it going bad.
Yeah, I guess kittens and puppies don't cut it anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's a different species. That's something different.
Yeah.
But it kind of shadows the, every now and then you'd hear the story about someone who fakes a pregnancy.
Yeah.
Or fakes cancer.
Yes.
Or fakes something like that for some weird attention-seeking reason or money or whatever it might be. So it kind of falls into that category for me a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. You just hope some of these folks have people in their lives that are willing to kind of sit them down and say, like, what's going wrong here?
Yeah.
How can I help you out?
That baby's not real.
And maybe,
Right.
I mean, and if those dolls are going for $10,000, maybe instead of putting that money towards a doll, like you can put that money to like a specialist or professional to help you deal with that grief or whatever reason you're purchasing this doll in the first place.
Yeah.
Can we have a little trust circle here?
Yeah.
I have a couple in the box at home. Those babies.
I didn't know that, but I was just kind of
The
assumed.
resale value.
It makes sense why you just got a house.
The resale value on those, I'm just telling you, in 10 years, untouched, in the box.
Keep it in the
Hopefully,
box.
Hundreds of dollars.
We thought NFTs were big, but
It's in my
Michael's
PowerPoint.
Are they
leaned into the
named?
market. Yes.
Thing 1 and thing 2.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Like the
if I
Addams
give them a
Family.
real name, I might have to keep them, and that's just a loss at that point.
That's fair.
They're just a dollar value to you, Mike.
Recyclable, though.
How are we ever going to improve on this ending? Like in
Those
the
are
history
two
of Fox 10
kind of
Talks.
disturbing topics.
For sure.
I mean,
sure.
People are just weird, man. Sometimes you just can't.
yeah, they are.
I get there might be an actual use for that, but if you're walking around in public, maybe if you had like a little daughter, instead of a Cabbage Patch Kid, they really want to get into that, maybe, but an adult, other than me,
Well,
who's
and
just using
it's-
it to make money.
Well, and Little Philosophy weighing in here that there's apparently a guy on Instagram who has one with automation, and it also has
Sure.
like AI in it too.
Well,
that
didn't we
interacts.
just read something
Oh my
about kids instead of
gosh.
having imaginary friends now turn to AI as their imaginary
That's
friends?
what we
Yeah.
talked about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we talked
It's only
about
a matter
that
of
last
time.
time.
Oh, God.
This is how it starts.
This is how it starts, and then the AI is going to take your job because they're coming